Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we're back working on the Honda Dream. I had fixed some electrical issues with this, which you can watch in another video. And the idea was now to start on a 1976 Goldwing, which I've also done an initial video for. So that really ought to be up on the bench right now, but I went away for a couple of weeks, had a very nice time doing a road trip of America. And when I got back, I went to move this. I thought, well, I'll start it up, give it a run, because it hasn't been run for a couple of weeks. And turning over, but wouldn't start. So, spark plugs out, no spark at all. So then it's a question of starting to fault find the electrical system, see what's going on. So tried all the usual sort of bits and pieces, and checked all the connectors, pulled them all off, put them all back on, cleaned them all up, all of that sort of thing, but still nothing. So I then went and had a look around the internet for likely causes and fault finding charts, and came across a couple of bits and pieces. There is a something from Rex's Speed Shop, which is this, which is the generator testing guide, which gives you all of the resistances that you need for checking all of the resistances on the coils to do with the generator. And I've been through all of these, and I've got pretty much all of these readings, but the low speed source coil should be 400 to 500 ohms, and I'm getting absolutely nothing on that. So I'll show you where that is and how I tested these, and then we need to make a start in actually getting the stator out, so we can send that off to be rewound or refurbished. So our stator is behind the rotor, and we've got a pickup here as well, and this lead that comes out brings the all the yellow leads, the 3 yellow leads, which come up to this plug here for the 3-phase charging, and then this plug and these 2 here are to do with the CDI unit, and this is what we need to be testing. So the guide I've been following says disconnect those from the rotor, sorry, from the stator I should say, which I've done, and then using a multimeter, and this is the cheapest, nastiest multimeter you can find. It was, I think it's probably came out of a cracker or something, to be perfectly honest with you. But you set it to the 2k range, ohm range, make sure you've chosen ohms, and then you just meter out the connections as it suggests using the guide. And in our case, they were all okay, apart from the white lead there to the green lead in there. And so according to that, there should be a reading of 400-500 ohms, I think it was, on those, and unfortunately I've got nothing whatsoever, which means that's the low power coil, which apparently is the most common one to go on this. What I don't know at this point in time is whether the problems with that have then caused problems with the CDI unit, capacitor discharge ignition unit. It could have done. Sometimes problems with the coil, with the stator I should say, apparently do take out the CDI unit as well, but there's no real way of testing that. So I do know this appears to be faulty, or the stator appears to be faulty, so we're going to get this off, and we'll have a look at it but I guess it's going to need to be sent off to be rewound. So obviously I've already taken off this cover here. That's simple enough. It's just, I think, 5 screws. You have to take off the gear change as well, because that goes through the case, and that's pretty much it. And then what you've got is holding this on is one bolt in here. When you take that bolt out, you've then got a larger threaded portion, a 20mm threaded portion, and you need a puller for that. And I do remember saying, well, you could in theory use one of those 3-legged pullers or 2-legged pullers and put it through here and try and pull this off, but the coils are very, very close behind here. You've got a good chance of damaging or causing even more damage. So it is recommended that you use the original puller. I thought I'd pretty much got every puller known to man, but I should have learned really, because on the SRX, which is the project I've just finished, I had to get the right Yamaha puller for that, which I hadn't got, and turns out that this needs the same puller as well. So I've been over to Honda Classics, which is actually luckily just down the road from me in Daventry, and I've bought the correct tool. It's not actually a Honda tool, it's a copy of the Honda tool. But let's get into this and see what we've got. So this particular tool is just a 20mm threaded portion with a T-bar, and it has got a grub screw in the top, so we could in theory take this bar out, put a longer one on to give us a bit more purchase if we wanted. But there should be a case of putting this in and tightening it up, and hopefully this will then come loose. Okay, so of course we've got to try and lock this up somehow, haven't we? So normally, if you have the cylinder head and that off, and the pistons off, you could put a rod or something through the connecting rods, rest it on some wood, and that would stop the engine rotating. We can't do that here, so I've put it in gear, and I've fitted put a socket extension, which happens to be exactly the same size as one of the teeth. Put that in there and locked it against the chain, so hopefully that'll do the trick. So what I need now is I need my persuader to bear down on this and see if we can get this undone. I'm really not a massive fan of smacking things with a large hammer, but in this particular case, let's see, we've got a lot of choice. Let's have a look. Well, that was a lot easier than I was expecting it to be perfectly honest. In fact, that came off almost as easy than the SRX one did. Okay, good. Let's take the tool out and have a look at what we've got. It's the first time I've had this off. I presume there's a keyway in here, so we can't get this wrong. Let's point it against the magnet. There we go. I presume that's a keyed shaft. Yeah, it is. And then before we lose it, is our little key that goes on my magnetic plate. Okay, well, on first inspection, that doesn't look too bad or too rusty in there, but that's not really the bit we need to be looking at. The bit we really need to be looking at is this stator. Let me just bring it a bit closer and you can see what we're looking at. Okay, so as far as I'm aware, the low power coil is this one, and this is one that normally causes the problems, so I'm told, or so I've looked up. I think that's the high power one. These ones I think are the ones for the charging, but anyway, the point is we've got to get this off, and to do that there are 3 screws. The manual says not to undo the 2 that have got the white paint on. Okay, I can't see any with white paint on, but I'm thinking it's those 3 that we need to undo. Looking at the state of these, I'm thinking these have been taken out before, and it doesn't look like they were done with a jazz screw.
So
We've got to get out 3 screws. 1, 2, 3, or 5 screws, and those 2 for the pickup. These apparently are meant to be notoriously tight. I have no idea whether these ones have been out before. It looks like they have to me. So I'm going to build my strength up with a cup of tea. And then I'm going to put my gloves on, which gives me a bit more purchase on the screwdriver. And we'll give it a go. So, once again, for those that don't know, don't use Phillips screwdrivers on these. Go and get yourself a set of JIS screwdrivers, Japanese industry standard screwdrivers. Make sure the tips are in good condition. Make sure the screw heads are cleaned out, and then what I like to do is just give the end of the screwdriver a tap, just to seat it in there properly and just have a feel of how it feels. And then it's just a question of pushing hard, hopefully. Yep, this is tight. Come on. Oh. Okay, that's the first one. I'll do that back up again while I have a go with these other 2. Be careful with these, because these have been off before and have been a bit chewed up, and I'm guessing they were done with a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, that's that one. Okay. Whew. That's 3 out of 5. Not quite as bad as I was thinking. I was thinking I was going to have to get my impact driver out on these, which again I don't really want to do. You can see little bits of swarf and metal on the end of my screwdriver, which is magnetic, where the heads are just starting to turn on these. Oh, actually that one was quite loose. That's the same. Yeah, those 2 were quite a bit looser. Okay, so we can now get those out. Take my gloves off. I don't like working with gloves unless I have to. These 2 look the same length. Look to be the same length. Not too badly corroded. We'll put some aluminium slip, whatever it's called. Yeah, you can see what's happened with these when they've been in to the case and they corroded. Steel against the aluminium. Right, so we've got 2 there. And then we've got these 3 which have got the washers on. One of the advantages of doing YouTube videos is, because this is going to end up coming off and then being sent away, I'm assuming that's what we're going to have to do with it. I'll forget which ones go where, but it won't matter because I can always refer back to my own video. But if you don't make your own YouTube videos, then the next best thing you can do is take many photos and photos and photos as you go along. Oh, that's very rusty, that one. Not rusty, but corroded, I should say. Okay. 1, 2. Yeah, there's a lot of corrosion. So that one in particular. Oops, give it in focus. There's a fair bit of corrosion around there, and that is the one that came out closest to the core that we think is suspect. So quite how moisture's got in there, I don't know. Presumably a breakdown of the gasket. The gasket doesn't look very clever, to be honest. So we are going to have to put a new gasket back on this at some point. So this should now be a case of unthreading the cable and undoing the rest of the connectors, and the whole assembly with the stator and this should all come away from the bike. So let's just have a look what we've got here. So we've got, I'll move you around a bit. Yeah, so we've got the connectors we've already taken off. There's one with 3 yellow wires going into it. One needs to come out as well. As I said, then done. I know this one will come off quite easy because I've had it off to clean up all the connectors already. But of course, when you come to do it on camera, it doesn't want to know. There we go. Okay, so that's that out of there. Okay, sat back in there. And the clip, by the looks of it there, that comes out. This comes out. So you've got those two there. Right, this is all silver, which tends to suggest to me this case has all been painted at some point. Got his logo spray on that as well. And then this just pulls off. And that is our stator assembly, complete with the pickup and the connectors. Okay, so we've got the stator on the bench. I'm just going to double check my findings. Like I said, this sheet you can download from Rex's Speed Shop. You can go to, I think it's rex's-speedshop.com. I think there's a technical section or something there, and you can download this. So I've checked. I'm not going to go through all of these with you, but basically the one I think is causing the problem is what they call the low speed source, the low speed coil, which is that one there, which does have the green and white wire going into it. So what I have noticed when I've been looking around is that on this particular loom, you've got the 3-pin connector with the 3 wires on there for the generator, 3-phase. You've got the 6-pin connector, but then I think on some later bikes or different bikes, rather than having these 2 bullet connectors, it's actually a 2-pin connector similar to something like that. So don't worry if you've got a slightly different configuration to this, but what we're interested in is seeing what resistance we've got between that white wire and the green in that socket, in this plug rather, which is the one that comes from there. So if I pick up on the white wire, put my probe in there down the side of the insulation, and then I go to the green wire, put it down the back, I should have, according to Honda, between 400 and 500 ohms, and according to Rex's Speed Shop, an actual reading of a known good winding was 410, and I've got nothing. So that is open circuit. So the other way of testing that, we could check to make sure the green wire isn't broken in the loom somewhere. We can do that because that green wire happens to come out of that coil and goes to earth. So if I check it there, so from the white wire to earth, which is the green, I've still got a reading of 1, which is basically the same as open, so it's open circuit. So there is a break. I suppose it's possible that white wire, there could be a break in that white wire, but I don't think that's going to be the case, to be honest. I think it's pretty much definitely going to be that coil, because it is a known fault with these. So yeah, I've got 2 choices now. I can look for a second-hand stator and hope that it's a good one and it hasn't got its own issues, or I could send this off to one of two places that I know of from the research I've done. One is, say, Rex's Speed Shop. This is in the UK, and the other one was, what was this guy called? They were called B. It's not on there, but they were called BB Bike Shop. Now I think both of these guys, I'm not affiliated to any of these guys. I'm just doing this to help you out if you've got a similar problem. They will both do rewinds. They'll both do testing. As far as I know, they also both supply their own version of a CDI unit, because I think it's, from what I've read, lots of people have the issue where the CDI burns out. They change the CDI, put a new one in, it works, and then a few weeks or months later it burns out again. And ultimately the problem is not the CDI units, it's these stators that are causing the problem and burning the CDI units out. So you've got to fix this first, put this back in, see if your CDI works. If it all works, fine. If it doesn't, then you've got to look a bit further and perhaps look at buying one of these CDI. Again, you could buy a second-hand original CDI, but you know, you don't know what state that's going to be in either. Yeah, so not the video I was expecting to be making next, because I was thinking that the next video would be the start of stripping the gold wing, but that's going to have to wait, I'm afraid, until I've got the CB400 off the bench now. So hopefully the gold wing will be on the bench next, and that'll be the next video. So anyway, hope this video has helped you out. If it has, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next one.